At exactly 7:10 a.m., the park did not look like a place meant for the living. Fog lay thick across the ground, curling around tree trunks like something breathing slow, deliberate, watchful. The usual morning sounds were muted, as though the world had agreed, silently, to whisper. And through it walked Mabel. Her steps were brisk, measured, coat buttoned tight, gloves snug against the cold. She moved like someone who respected time, who understood lateness had consequences. But today, something was wrong. Not wrong in a way she could name, wrong in a way she could feel. The air pressed differently, against her skin. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was waiting. Mabel slowed, just slightly. Her eyes moved across the familiar path, the benches, the gravel, the towering oak tree. Ahead. That tree. It stood like it always had, old, unmoving, watching. But today, it felt aware. Her gaze dropped, and that was when she saw it, a white shawl, lying on the ground, too clean for something abandoned, too deliberate to be lost. Mabel stopped. A flicker of hesitation crossed her face. Then instinct took over. She stepped closer, and then she saw her, a woman, frail, still, lying beneath the oak tree as though the earth itself had placed her there. Mabel's breath caught. For a second, she didn't move, didn't think. Then urgency flooded in. She rushed forward and dropped to her knees beside the woman. "Are you all right, ma'am?" Her voice sounded louder than it should have in that quiet. The woman's eyes opened slowly, gentle eyes. Not panicked, not afraid, just calm, too calm. A faint smile touched her lips, the kind of smile that didn't belong to someone lying on cold ground in morning fog. "Just," the woman whispered, her voice thin but steady, "put me on the bench. Leave me there." Mabel frowned immediately. "No, I can take you somewhere warmer." "You shouldn't be out here. The bench is enough." The words came firmer this time, not louder, but final. Something in the woman's tone made Mabel pause. Not fear, not authority. Something else. Something that felt like certainty. Mabel swallowed, then nodded. "Okay." Carefully, almost reverently, she slid her arms beneath the woman's shoulders and back. The body was lighter than expected. Too light, like lifting something that didn't fully belong to the world anymore. Mabel pushed that thought away instantly. Step by step, she guided her to the bench. The wood creaked softly as the woman settled onto it. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The fog shifted. The tree loomed above them. Mabel reached into her bag quickly. "I have tea," she said, unscrewing her flask with slightly trembling fingers. "And a sandwich." She held it out. The woman accepted, both with delicate hands, hands that felt cold. But not frozen, just distant. She took a small sip, then another. Her eyes softened. "Thank you." Mabel exhaled quietly, relief washing through her. "It's nothing, really." The woman looked at her then, not casually, not gratefully, but knowingly. And then she said it, softly, clearly. You've helped me twice today. Mabel blinked. I'm sorry. The woman only smiled. Not explaining, not repeating, just smiling. A strange silence followed, one that stretched just a little too long. Mabel shifted slightly, glancing at her watch. 7:13 a.m. Her heart skipped. I'm so sorry, she said quickly, standing. I'm running late for work. The woman lifted a hand gently. It's all right. Her voice carried no disappointment, no urgency, just acceptance, which somehow made it harder to leave. Mabel hesitated. Her eyes flicked to the woman again. You'll be okay? She asked. A small nod. I'll be fine. Another pause. Then Mabel spoke. Softer this time. I'll come back this evening. The woman didn't respond immediately. Then a slight nod. I know, Mabel didn't question that. Couldn't. She simply turned and began walking away. But her steps felt heavier now. The fog thickened as she moved through it, curling around her legs like it wanted to slow her down, as if the park itself was reluctant to let her go. Kindness knows no schedule. The thought came uninvited, not quite her voice, not quite someone else's. Mabel shook her head slightly and kept walking. At the edge of the path, something pulled at her. She turned, just once. The bench, empty, completely empty. The flask, gone. The sandwich, gone. The woman, gone. Mabel froze. Her breath caught sharply in her chest. No. Her eyes scanned the area quickly. The ground, the tree, the path. Nothing. No movement, no figure, no trace. Just fog and silence. A chill slid down her. Spine. Not from the cold. From something deeper. Something unexplainable. She stood there longer than she should have. Then slowly she turned back and forced herself to walk away. By the time she reached back, the bus stop, the world had returned. Or at least, it pretended to. A neighbour waved. She waved back automatically. Cars moved faintly through the fog. Life resumed. But Mabel wasn't fully in it. Her mind replayed everything. The woman's face, her voice, her words. You've helped me twice today. Her grip tightened slightly on her bag. Her flask. She stopped walking, opened her bag quickly, looked inside, empty. Her stomach dropped. At work, everything felt distant. The receptionist smiled. Mabel nodded, sat at her desk, opened emails, closed them again. Her thoughts refused to cooperate. They kept returning. Back to the bench, back to the woman, back to that sentence. She stared at her coffee, untouched. Twice today, her voice was barely a whisper. What did that mean? She hadn't seen the woman before. Had she? A flicker of something passed through her mind, too fast to catch, too vague to hold. Mabel shook her head. No, that doesn't make sense, but the feeling stayed, persistent, unsettling. Outside, the fog refused to lift. Children walked past the park gates, laughing, unaware. Birds chirped faintly. life moved on. But something had shifted, something quiet, something unseen, something that had chosen her for reasons she did not yet understand. All through the day, the memory stayed. Not fading, not weakening, growing, like a question waiting to be answered, like a thread waiting to be pulled. By afternoon, sunlight began to break through the fog, weak but present. And yet Mabel felt colder than she had that morning. As she walked home that evening, her steps slowed near the park. Her eyes drifted toward the oak tree. Her heart beat just a little faster. Evening fell quietly as Mabel approached her apartment, her steps slower than usual, her mind still tangled in the morning's mystery. She unlocked the door, stepped inside, and froze. The flat was immaculate, not just tidy perfect, dishes washed and stacked neatly, clothes folded with care. Her plants, once slightly drooping, now stood upright and fresh. On the small table near the window, her lost items, keys, earrings, even her watch she hadn't seen in days, were arranged as if someone had taken time to remember her. Mabel let out a soft gasp. How? Who? She moved slowly through the room, her fingers brushing surfaces, checking for signs of intrusion. Nothing was disturbed. Nothing was broken. Just cared for. A faint, uncertain smile touched her lips. The next evening, it happened again. And the one after that. For 2 weeks, Mabel returned home to quiet acts of unseen kindness. Each day, she carried tea and sandwiches to the oak tree bench. Each day, she placed them gently, like a silent exchange. Each day, she wondered, could she still be alive? But no one else ever saw the woman. And yet, the help never stopped. Mabel began keeping notes, dates, times, small details, patterns. Her mornings belonged to the bench, her evenings to the mystery waiting at home. And somewhere between both, a connection grew, not frightening, not strange, but warm. She would sit briefly under the oak tree, watching birds settle on branches, listening to distant footsteps pass by, and sometimes she felt it. A presence, not watching her, but near her, kind, protective. Kindness begets kindness, she whispered once, smiling to herself. And for the first time, it felt true in a way she couldn't explain. Days turned into quiet purpose. Her life softened. Her thoughts changed. The mystery didn't trouble her anymore. It comforted her, guided her. Then one morning, unable to ignore it any longer, Mabel sought answers. She found Brima, the park keeper, sweeping near the path. "Have you seen an elderly woman?" she asked gently, wrapped in white. He looked at her, puzzled at first. Then something shifted in his expression. "Can you describe her?" Mabel did. Every detail, every feeling, every moment. When she finished, Brima went still. "That was Theresa Vee," he said quietly. Mabel blinked. "Theresa Vee?" He nodded. "She passed away a few months ago." The words didn't land immediately. "But she was here," Mabel whispered. "I spoke to her." Brima shook his head slowly. "You helped her," he said. "That's her legacy." He told her everything. How Theresa helped children cross streets, read to them in schools, sat with the sick in hospital wards, cleaned the park every weekend without fail. A life of small, quiet kindness. A life that touched many, but asked for nothing. Mabel walked to the oak tree in silence. The plaque beneath it gleamed faintly. Theresa Vee, 1942, 2025. Her fingers brushed against it. Her eyes filled with tears. All this time, she whispered. Then the words returned, clear as the morning she heard them. You've helped me twice today. Mabel inhaled sharply. And finally, she understood. She sat on the bench, placed tea, placed sandwiches, not out of habit, but out of gratitude. I can continue this, she said softly, and she meant it. From that day, Mabel's life changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but deeply. She began visiting the school, reading to children, helping them learn. She volunteered at the church. At the hospital, she cleaned, she listened, she gave quietly, consistently. The community began to notice, not loudly, not all at once, but slowly. People started helping each other more, smiling more, caring more, like something invisible had been passed on. Well, one evening, under a golden sunset, Mabel returned to the oak tree. She placed sandwiches on the bench, sat beside them, and watched children run past, laughing freely. The plaque shimmered in the light. She touched it gently. Thank you, she whispered. The wind moved softly through the leaves above her, and for a brief moment she felt it again. That presence, familiar, warm, at peace. Mabel smiled, not in confusion, not in wonder, but in understanding. She stood, took one last look at the bench, and began walking home. Behind her, the oak tree stood tall, silent, watching, witness to a kindness that had not ended, only changed hands. And somewhere, in every small act that followed, Theresa lived on. Dear viewers, kindness never goes to waste. Even the smallest act can come back in ways you don't expect. A good life is measured by impact, not attention. What truly matters is how many lives you touch. You don't need wealth to change lives. Time, care, and compassion are enough. Kindness creates a ripple effect. One good deed can inspire many more. Some blessings come unseen. Not everything good needs an explanation, just appreciation. Legacy is built daily. What you do consistently is what you'll be remembered for. What would people remember you for today? When last did you help someone without expecting anything back? Could your small actions be changing someone's life? What if kindness is the only thing that truly lasts? Who is a Theresa in your life? What's the kindest thing someone has done for you? Would you have stopped like Mabel did? I'll be reading and responding to the comments. Where are you watching from? Thank you for watching till the end. We truly appreciate you. If this story touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and please leave a comment. Let others experience this message too. From TESSA'S Stories. More beautiful and meaningful stories are coming your way. We'll keep bringing you stories that inspire and touch the heart. Stay tuned. Bye for now.